everyone, and we welcome you all in today's session on Jira, which is under PMI Pit Stop Initiative. As you all know, PMI Pit Stop Initiative is a new initiative started last month where the subject matter experts and project managers come together and share their experience and the practical usage of tools and techniques that we use while doing the projects. So it's conducted every second Wednesday in a month, and the timing is 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And participants will get one PDU at the end, and at the end of the session, I'll share the PDU number also. So for today's session, please join me to welcome our expert trainer, Mr. Vinod. Vinod is with the Ricket Global Hub SQRC delivery practice, and he has 19 plus years of experience. He is well versed with project management methodologies and tools like Zira, and he also has good understanding of analytics, data integration, reporting, data virtualization, and database technologies. And before I hand over the stage to Vinod, let's have a quick poll to understand the experience level of participants on Jira. So, Girish, can you help me out here?
Yes, 1 minute.
Yeah, okay.
I think let Rupali let Vinod start, and then maybe in another 5-10 minutes we'll have that call.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, Vinod, please take I hand over the stage to you, and it's all yours.
Okay, thanks everyone for giving me the opportunity. Good evening. I hope everyone is able to hear me loud and clear.
Yes, you are.
All right,
Yes,
thank you. And I hope everyone is able to see my screen as well.
Yes.
Yes, Vinod.
All right, perfect. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I think agenda for today's session, how we want to cover is go through Agile overview, a very quick glance at Agile topics so that it lays a foundation for us on how Jira operates as well and how we utilize on day-to-day activities from a project management side of it. A quick overview there, and also moving into the Jira overview and getting into the demo part of how Jira works, how do we create issues or how do we track them, and then open up for forums. So this is the agenda that we have lined up for today. Unless if we want more time for demo, then we can quickly squeeze through the first two topics and then jump into the demos. Okay, does it sound okay? Can we continue with this agenda?
Yeah, please.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So let's jump into the Agile overview. So in a day-to-day world, right? So from a typical Agile, there are three critical roles, right? So that we play. One is the product owner, second is the Scrum Master, and third is the Scrum team or the development team. So it's very important to understand that the product owner is someone who lies between the customers or the business, gets us the requirements, and Scrum Master works very closely with product owner to kind of understand the requirements and help them put them into the backlog. Scrum team kind of comes in a later part to go into details, work closely with the product owner, detail them out using appropriate acceptance criteria, and then prioritize those activities, estimate them, and then move into a specific sprint cycle. So that's the three key pillars when we start with Agile from a roles perspective. How do we operate? Just to elaborate on the point on product backlog and stories. So whenever we start a program, the first critical thing to have is a product backlog, which is owned by the product owner. Then comes the planning or the different governance meetings that we get into. But during the planning sessions, we understand the backlog, go through each and every story, prioritize them, and then onboard into our sprint backlog and into the active sprints that we want to kind of take through. So that's the process that we follow each and every cycle of the sprint that we follow. Now, sprint duration can vary based on the type of project, whether it could be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. It all depends on the complexity of the project or the type of projects that we are kind of dealing with. Quickly moving on to the next slide. So these are the different, I would say, ceremonies or sessions that we have across the sprint cycle. So we touched upon the backlog. So once the product backlog is available, so we do the grooming sessions. The planning sessions are very important because that helps us understand, prioritize, estimates, and then pick them into the sprint cycles. The rest three kind of very closely tied back to your sprint cycle to monitor the progress, report the progress, and understand what are the outcomes of it and learnings from it. So these three critical activities are also important because as we move from one sprint cycle to the following sprint cycles, it is important to understand the learnings from them and implement or overcome them in the following sprints. Let me pause here if there are any questions, and then we can quickly jump into a Jira overview.
There's a question from Nand Kumar saying that are these roles same in all agile methodology?
Yes, the crux of the roles remain same between Kanban or Scrum, but at a very high level, for Kanban, it's very dynamic. We do not have like a product owner kind of a mechanism. So it's a free flowing activities, but you always have a SME or a Scrum Master and the Scrum team. So these two channels will be very critical. Product owner is a kind of an optional role. So it's more of a free flowing from a Kanban. But for Scrum, it is a must to have these roles. Okay. Any other questions?
For Kanban, sprint is applicable, how it is different?
Okay, let me just jump into two more slides further. So on the right side, there is a quick snapshot in terms of highlighting the core differences between Scrum and Kanban. When do we use them and why do we use them? So if in short, we go with the Scrum kind of a mechanism if we know within the sprint cycle what needs to be achieved, or within the release cycle what needs to be achieved. So it is more closed loop and a fixed length sprints that we move with. But that's not the case with Kanban. Kanban, for example, it's more like a support tickets or incident management kind of activities where you will see continuous flow of tickets or incidents that come in, day out. So you can still have a fixed cycle like a 1 week or 2 weeks to kind of see, capture from a metrics standpoint, but it is more free flowing than the Scrum. Okay, hope that answers the questions. Any other questions?
There's one more question. We know the SMEs are part of project team.
SMEs are part of project team. That is correct. Okay, so maybe to elaborate a little bit more on that question, right? So SMEs can be of two types, right? So one, if it is related to a functional expert or solution architect that we want to bring on board from a project team, yes. But they could also be SMEs from the business standpoint who would participate, who understands the business well. So there is a possibility where you might have SMEs kind of coming from business or coming from the respective extended team or project team. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, I think we can share this slides. No problem. Okay, can we move on to Jira overview?
Yeah.
Right, thank you. So Jira,
Before you start the Jira overview, do you want to run the poll, Vinod, now or later?
Sure, can do that. So I'm not sure on the polling mechanism, but
Girish, can you help us with the poll before we actually start the overview? Girish, if you're there, thank you. So request to everyone, if you can answer these questions, this will probably help us understand the experience level of the quorum, and accordingly we can tweak the session. So please do answer these questions. Thank you.
Can I stop the poll?
Yes, Girish, please. And what's the result? Okay, we have total of 57 participants and 19 are saying they have not heard of Jira, and 17 have less than 1 years of experience. 9 has less than 3 years of experience in Jira, and 3 has more than 3 years of experience working on Jira. So that's the status, Vinod.
Okay, great. Then I think if everyone is okay, we will start with understanding about Jira, and then getting into integrities or depth of Jira, how we use on a day-to-day basis. Let me reshare my screen. Okay, hope my screen is visible.
Yes, Vinod.
All right, thank you. So getting into a quick overview of Jira, I think there was a question about Jira license as well in the past. So Jira is a commercial license if you want to utilize its full functionalities, right, and for a longer duration. But if anyone want to definitely try out, there is a trial versions. You can just register and then it's available for 15 days. So that can be done. But in short, Jira is an incident management tool or issue management tool, or you can call it as a project management tool. So we use it for primarily tracking issues or change requests or any kind of incident tickets or project management kind of activities. It is very useful when we actually track it and wanted to follow a specific workflow similar to if you have heard about any of the process management kind of tools. So it has its own workflow which can be customized based on the complexity of the project. So in the next few slides, we can also see an examples about what is a workflow means and how does it look like and what options do we have. But from Jira, the way any activity or task is basically created is referred to as an issue. Anything that we start with is an issue, and issue would have sub options like if you want to kind of term it as an epic or you want to term it as a story or a bug. These are the three options that we see whenever we kind of start a Jira or try to create a new issue, and everything is basically tracked back from a metrics and details that needs to be onboarded with the same flow. Now, how does we differentiate between what is an epic versus story or a task or a bug? In a typical world, let's say if there is a website that needs to be developed, and one of the features or main functionality is like creating access control or a security protocol. So we treat that as the main requirements or one of the functionalities within the overall use case of creating a website. And for that, what are the stories? Like for an access control, you might need users, you might need groups, you might need different types of access, or you have to control it or maybe mask the password. So there could be different stories that is required, and each of the stories can be further divided into a specific category that the development team or the Scrum team kind of will work on to deliver. So that's how it is kind of tracked, where you go from a high level and then divide them into a lower level chunks of work, and then it's further divided into day-to-day activities that we can track and then create metrics with. In an ideal world, so it is always recommended that a task which is created should not be more than 8 hours of effort. That's the unique or the easier mechanism that we would use and recommend, because any task that spills over 8 hours, it's going to be very difficult to track on as we do a 24-hour cycle from a Scrum calls perspective. Every morning that we look at, we check for previous 24 hours update and the next 24 hours what we are trying to do. So that way it becomes easy in terms of where we are in tracking the progress. In case there could be scenarios where a task from an overall effort perspective could be more than 8 hours. So it is always recommended that we divide the task into multiple subtasks, and each of them can be categorized into 8 hours or less effort. So that's how we start with then, which is the basis for starting the Jira activities and creating issues and moving on. There is also other set of options to integrate external tools like GitLab or ClearCase, to where you can integrate your code coverage merge with these tools in the Jira. So there are plugins which are available when we go on to Jira sites to kind of where we can download and integrate with the Jira that is installed in our organization level. So moving on, the key features that defines the Jira board. Jira is basically the first thing that is required is creating a project. And when we create a project, there are two options or three primary options that we come with. One, do we want to do a Scrum board, or do we want to do a Kanban board, or do we want to select a basic software development kind of cycle? Now, how does it differ? I think a small screen which differentiates between Scrum and Kanban, which tells us whether you want to run on a specific periodic sprint cycle, or it's more of a free-flowing incident management kind of an activity. Based on the type of project or requirement, you can select either of these methodologies. The basic software development is very, very basic, where you can use it in either cycles, whether it's Scrum or Kanban, but it can also be like tracking help desk tickets or change requests, any such activities using the basic software. It's much more easier in terms of complexity and workflow management. There is also options where you can customize the boards to look at. So what does the board mean? So whenever we open a Jira window, we have an option to have a board to basically say how many open tickets we have, how many are in progress, basically look at each of the issues based on different kind of statuses or priority or whichever order we want to kind of look at. So we can customize that. That's the opening page that we get whenever we open a project, which will give a quick glance in terms of where we are in terms of the overall status of the program or overall status of a specific active stream that we are working towards. So that's the main advantage of the board. You can also have multiple templates and workflows basically to manage them. The next slides, I have an example in terms of what a workflow means and how complex you can make it or how simplified you can have it based on the type of the project. As I was mentioning in the previous slide, everything in Jira is issue driven. So when we create an activity, basically it is an issue that we start with, and each issue can be divided into epic story or a task or a bug. So that the channelizing of the activities from a whole landscape of a product can be channelized into multiple key functionalities, and individual tasks can be created for each of them and then tracked. Notifications, reports, and add-ins. I think add-ins we have covered. So notifications, how does it help? So whenever we create a new task or somebody updates a specific task, so an email alert is sent out to that group who are mapped to the particular channel or the board, mentioning about what change has been happened. Is it reassigned to a specific person as an example, or an update hasn't happened? If you have to explicitly call out a name, right, so who needs to be aware of this ticket, you can always use that at the rate and the name which is appearing in the organization as per organization, and then it highlights the content to the particular person via an email alert. So that's a key advantage. So we don't have to often go into Jira to check for an update. Any change which is happening, it kind of you get the notification there. Reports. This is one other key functionalities and a key part of tracking your activities. It is pretty straightforward in Jira, because the data is kind of your source data is basically your issues that has been created for each sprint, and based on that, within a couple of clicks, you will be able to kind of generate different types of inbuilt reports that are available within Jira. So we can also go through some of the details of what each report means, and I'll also show you through demo some of the examples. Moving on, these are the different types of reports. So this specially categorized into three high level, whether it is related to Jira, or is it related to issue analysis, or it is related to forecast management. In a typical sprint cycle, we commonly use a burn down chart and velocity. That's very common use of the report in any project or a sprint or agile project that we look at. There would be specific instances where we want to kind of time tracking report or a utilization on the road kind of a report that could also be generated, but it would be specific on what we would want to track in terms of resource utilization or in terms of story estimations that we want to basically track. So let me move on in terms of examples. So how do we basically get to or have a project in Jira? So as soon we open a Jira page, and these options are only available from administrator perspective. It's not visible for a common user. So we have an option for projects, and then we can create a project. As soon as you click on the create project option, you have this option which talks about Scrum, Kanban, or basic software. So you can select the appropriate ones that matches the requirement of your project, and then you can move on. In this example, basic software development is selected, and you would see by default a workflow, a basic workflow is kind of created or allows you to select, and that can be selected and moved on. Now, what is a workflow? So there are some examples of workflow here. So for example, so there are two examples here. So one is a simple workflow, and second is a little complex workflow. Now, how does it help? As I was mentioning, we start any activity like by creating an issue. Now, each issue has to follow a proper workflow to basically ensure that it starts and then goes through a respective review cycle or different channels, gets approved, and then till it gets basically gets done or closed. So in the left example, let's say by default, whenever we create any issues, the default state is open, and there is an opportunity given to the product owner or the Scrum Master whether they would want to basically reject that issue if there are no sufficient information is available, or they could review and then pass it on to a to-do. As soon as we bring it up into to-do, it becomes your product backlog, right? Which can be basically looked at from a sprint planning perspective, and these stories can be picked up and then moved into different stages, either work in progress, and then moved into code review if you are able to kind of progress on it. And then once the review is done, it can be basically mapped to done. There could also be instances where we've started and onboarded the story, but we do not have enough information. So there are additional options which are available to select so that it goes into a whole state. Similarly, on the right example, it's more for a detailed end-to-end implementation of a development project where you have multiple checks to ensure that the story is really ready before you basically start your work. And then there are steps to basically address that we are able to test them thoroughly with different testing activities, and then move into kind of releasing into a production kind of environment or moving the code. So this has a little more detailed steps or a flow, and the issue always works. You cannot move from one step to or jump from one first step to like 2 or 3, 4 steps. You cannot skip. So you always have to traverse through each and every step to reach a specific level or the flow that you want to look at. So let me take a pause and see if there are any questions. As the next is more about basically looking at how Jira looks like and how do we create an issue.
So there is a question from Nandakumar. As in Jira, everything starts with incident. In that context, this tool is useful for Kanban methodology or Scrum. What's your view?
It would fit both the purposes, Scrum and Kanban. So I will show you a couple of examples on how a Kanban dashboard looks like and how Scrum looks like. The only difference here is from a metrics standpoint. Now, in a typical sprint cycle, you have a closed loop. So you know that if I'm running with a 2-week sprint or a 3-week sprint, I have clear-cut metrics in terms of what's my average turnaround time, or what is my utilization, or what is my burn down in terms of how many able to accomplish in a specific sprint cycle, or how many are spillovers. But if you take Kanban, as it's a free flowing, you cannot really validate on the metrics of how many data accomplish right within a specific time limit. So that's where some of the challenges flow in from a free flowing test. But I think from a pros and cons perspective, both has its own pros and cons in terms of how we manage.
Yeah. Second question is from Benno. What is Jira Confluence, please?
Okay. So Confluence is nothing but if you look at like a typical SharePoint, right? So where you have a repository to store all your documents or artifacts related to your project. There is a slight difference between SharePoint and Confluence, but the concept is same. In Confluence, what happens is your whole document, right? Instead of an attachment, you can actually put it as a page and it comes up. So as soon as you click, instead of opening a document in a different, method or tool, you can very well view the full content in the page and then traverse through like a hyperlinks across different contents. That's the difference, but in short, it is more about having your references of documents or content of project.
The next question is from Nand Kumar. Can velocity chart track the story points or incidents issues remaining completed?
So the difference between, so we will look at that. So if I just skip back, go back into your burn down chart and velocity chart, right? So here, if you see self-explanatory, right? So track the amount of work completed from a specific sprint, right? Kind of gives you the velocity. But burn down chart gives you what is the total work which is remaining, right? So let's say you onboarded 10 user stories and you're able to accomplish 8. So clearly from the burn down, you know there is a 2 stories which are spillover.
Yeah. The next question is, can Jira be used as a service desk tool to record infrastructure related incidents?
Yes, it can be. So I think in the introduction to Jira, so we've said it's clearly listed down from a Jira capabilities as well. So it can be used as a incident management, help desk support or customer service or change management. So yes, it can be.
Perfect. So let's start with the session with the demo, Vinod, and would request the participants to raise the questions. I'm keeping a track of it, and whenever there is a next pause, we'll take these questions. Go ahead, Vinod.
Give me 1 second. Let me bring back, share my screen. Okay, let me know if you're able to see my screen.
It's visible, Vinod.
Okay, we did look at a couple of options in the slides. So as I was mentioning, only admin has an option to basically create a project. So you would see when I click on projects, I can see different projects which are created right within Jira board. And if I click on view all projects, I get an opportunity to look at all the projects which are available in the Jira board. But if I have to access some of them, I need to basically have access to the specific project. Now, in an instance where you have only one project, no issue. But if you have multiple projects in the organizations, then it is important to understand which of these projects that basically created for your project. So let's take a quick example of, let's say, one of the projects, a sample project. And how does it look like, right? So when you look at what a board means, right, how a backlog is tracked, or how do you track basically statuses. So let me, so as soon as you click on backlog, what happens is it will give you 2 things. One is it will give you different sprints that have been created for a project. You can also customize it to see different versions or epics by epics, right, different kind of categories. So that's up to us. So if I click, for example, on epics, it will show me by epic, how many issues are basically assigned, how many completed, how many not estimated kind of status. But if I want to keep it simple, so I could just hide that and then elaborate only when required. But it will first show all the sprints which has been completed or which is kind of planned. And then if I expand, it will also show the issues which are basically mapped to that particular sprint cycle. Now, by the term backlog as it goes by, right? So you would also see if there are backlog items which are created and parked. So which means that these are activities which are lined up and should be used during the planning session for prioritizing and onboarding onto a specific sprint. So that's the kind of intent of the backlog. And you also have an option to basically create sprint here. So for example, let's say this is the backlog, so I can create a sprint. So if I click a sprint, so I get a sprint by default, whichever naming convention I've used in the past. And then if I want to make any change to this sprint, so I can always go to edit sprint and say whether I want to follow a weekly sprint to bi-weekly sprint, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or custom. If I choose custom, I have an option to basically select which day, what is the start date and what is the end date. So it's up to me in terms of however we would want to basically customize. So here it also gives you an opportunity, because at the end of the sprint or when you basically start a sprint, you should have a goal on what you're targeting and which is against which is what we measure at the end of the sprint. So it gives you a placeholder to kind of update and provide all the goals that you've kind of onboarded and agreed or aligned with the different stakeholders and update here. Once you update and then click start, basically it will start the sprint, and all the Scrum team basically have the opportunity to map the sprints basically to the user stories or issues which are onboarded into this particular sprint cycle. Now, how do they do it, right? How do we even create an issue? How do we come here? So before jumping there, so as we're talking about sprints, how do we know what is active sprints, right? So if you have only one active sprint at any given point of time, by default, you would see here in the board, whichever is the active sprint basically gets selected. If that is not the case, where if you have multiple streams in progress, you have an opportunity to basically select whichever sprint basically that you're working against. Now, how does it help? For example, let me say sprint 2 is my current sprint, right? And what do I get using this board? And this is a good example of a board for a Scrum board. Now, what did we do? So we have the workflow. So I would want to know as a Scrum Master, how many are open issues, right, which is onboarded and it's still not addressed. So I know what are those open and how many are open. Similarly, when it moves from one stage to other stage, right? So how many are pending or in that particular stage? So I would get to know. So in this case, if you notice, so across different stages, we know that a certain number of stories or issues which are mapped or available and which are released and done. Right? So you get status across. There is another level, again, this is purely customization, where you can go by epics or different use cases or functionalities that you can go with. You can expand and see which are those user stories which are mapped for this particular epic and which state they are. I have an overall score or dashboard. Now, when I get in, I know there are, for this particular use case, I do not have any of them in hold or in progress any of the stage, but something in code review, and most of them are in done stage. So this is a good way where we can, which will help to run our daily Scrum and also understand the status and also kind of present status with larger audience who is required. Now, how do we customize this board, right? So there is always an option, an easy way, where you go to board settings and you select basically whichever, however you want to basically look at your project options. So in this case, if you notice, I had filtered on a specific project because there were multiple projects which were running in parallel, and I would want to get basically status of only specific projects. And then I went ahead and basically listed out which all columns I would want to basically look for. This is a classic example in terms of how do I query or check the different stories available and who is it mapped, what state it is, right? Now, how do I track it usually? There are two options to search for the issues. One, either you can click on more and then select different options in Jira and you can track against. For example, you're not sure and you would want to basically highly customize this. There is an option to basically simply, so as I've selected a fixed version, an example here, I can switch to JSQL. I clearly get and I can write a script, a simple script to validate against a specific filter conditions or criteria that I want to select and save this search. So whenever I go in, I know this search is basically saved for me, and I exactly get the data filtered using this. So this is a good example in terms of how do we basically track this. Now, to even come to this stage, right, and then help us track, find where are all these options or columns listed on. As I was mentioning, right, everything starts with the issue. So as soon as I click create, right, so you see the option comes up as a create issue. Then I can basically go in and select whichever project I belong to, whether I belong to any of these examples, right, I'm looking at. I select the project and I put in whether it is a story or a bug, epic, or a task, right? I created. Now, how is this different between a task, story, or an epic? As I was mentioning, task it can be independent, right? But you can still link it to epic or a story. But if you look at a flow, we always go from epic to story and story to task. And then each task can have subtasks. You can also exclude task and then go to story, and then each story can also have subtask. So, but this is the flow, it's best to follow. In case you're in an incident, like you're in a post-production state and you're getting like incidents, right? Or defects which are coming up or issues which is coming up, you can track them as bugs and then you can basically report accordingly. So as soon as you select a bug or a type of issue, right, it will allow you to put in a certain acceptance criteria. Now, how is this different from a summary of an issue or a description of an issue? So acceptance criteria has to be very clear when we basically define a user story or a task, right? Why? So for example, let's say my issue type is I do not have access to a specific application. So how do I meet that acceptance criteria, right? So I don't know. So I would put clearly that acceptance criteria is I should be able to kind of have read access to a specific report. I should be able to have read access to a specific table or some other folder or something like that. So if I meet these two acceptance criteria, then that means my issue is resolved. And it also allows you to basically put in description about what you're expecting in details, and also allow you to import any attachments, screenshots that you want to give as a input for the SME who is looking at this issue. So this is one way. So how do I track, right, which project, what priority, right, which sprint, kind of an example. So here is where it comes up. So fixed versions basically allows you to create multiple project cycles within a Jira board and allows you to select them and whichever release or project basically that you are tagging against. Now, in a typical world, you can also have multiple release cycles which can run in parallel, or it can also be run in sequential. But if you want to basically have a closed loop tracking and tag your user stories based on the release cycle, you can select each of those, create multiple release cycles and map your user stories. So whenever you put filter conditions, whenever you generate a report, you always look at this particular version or release cycle and gather your metrics. What is a component, right? So component is something like, so within a particular release, I might have multiple components like code review, or if I want to further segregate it and then map these users for ease of kind of allocating to a particular business SME, right? Usually, for example, a new requirement or a UAT goes to a different resource. A new requirement go to a product owner, the defects or UAT bug could go to a test manager. Similarly, a code review can go to an SME. So you can always create components and tag the specific resources to it and map to a user story. So by default, a notification goes in and they know from their dashboard, right, or a board, able to look at all these which are coming up and where they need to basically act upon. This is another easier way to basically segregate the type of issues, the type of requirements or activities that is performed and map to an SME, so that it is easy for those SME to basically look at what's come up new or what they have to act upon. Priority, it depends how you want to categorize. For incident management, typically you go by P1, P2, P3 or P4 kind of criteria, but there is no, I would say, a segregation or a SLA which is mapped to Jira board. It's what you define from an organization perspective, and accordingly you select and then try to meet those SLAs. You could also use the priority level to basically track your activities and see what is high priority, what is low priority. So there is an example, like I'll quickly show you through those particular examples. Epics, right? So as I was mentioning, it's always a flow that you have to maintain, which will help. And this is something that I think very important to understand also. In a full cycle development development project, right? So you always have a regression testing or a testing cycle, whether it is SID, UAT, kind of an activities. So it is important that we have a traceability, right, available. So the traceability basically comes from your requirement and mapped to your test cases. Now, how does it happen? So the best practice is we usually use epics as your user requirements, and then further drill down your user stories into your functional requirements, and then your tasks or subtasks into your actual activities that needs to be performed from a technical side or a functional side of activities. And then these tasks or user stories, basically whenever a test manager is writing a script, basically map them to this. So you have a clear lineage or traceability which says my test scripts, right, when I pull a report, test script A kind of maps to requirement 1, right, in my URS or as epic, and then you have a complete traverse flow. So you get a traceability very easily if you follow the flow. So that is something important that you have to note for. Second is sprint. So as I was mentioning, if there are multiple releases or use cases which are going in parallel, so you should always select which sprint cycle that you belong to. So each release cycle can have a different sprint cycle or naming convention. So that needs to be mapped. So it is easier when the specific team looks at their user stories, right, for that particular sprint cycle. It's very clear and it's visible for them and available for them. So these are some key things that we would have to look for. The other tips or tricks I would say is there's an import issues option. Now, how does it help? You can always, so it's not necessary that we go each issue and then create them in a Jira board. You have an option to basically define everything in an Excel or a CSV kind of a format, which will have some key columns like summary, right? Whom you have to kind of assign to, what is the description, acceptance criteria. So some of these key columns needs to be available in the Excel, and you can use this import option and import all the issues at one shot into the Jira board. So that is another useful option if somebody wants to basically utilize this and not go issue by issue from a creation standpoint. So I would say these are some key things that we need to take care of it. So let me pause. I know there was a lot of content. Okay, maybe before that, let me just show you another example in terms of a Kanban board. So you will see a difference in terms of how the tracking of the board would differ, right, versus the Scrum board. If you see here, so the workflow defined here is a little different from a Scrum. Again, it's customizable in whatever mechanism that we want from a workflow and also board perspective. There is also a segregation which is done here in terms of priority of issues. So you can always look at the way that a high priority issue comes up, because usually high priority is very less SLA and the reaction time is less. So you can have this visibility where you know very clearly which is high priority raised as, and then quickly react or act upon it. You can also kind of track others and then onboard them right into a specific sprint or during a Scrum call, on a day-to-day Scrum call, which activities kind of goes from a SLA or a prioritization perspective, and then the specific resources are assigned to it and then act upon. So this is a Kanban board. Again, not very different from your Scrum board, but as I was mentioning, from a functionality perspective, the difference is, right, this is free flowing, it's not fixed, so you can always have issues every minute, every hour, every day. So they keep adding, and then they come to your backlog or a new kind of a section, and somebody from a SMH has to basically have to review and either reject or put them into backlog and plan them accordingly on a day-to-day basis. So let me stop here before I show how a workflow works and where the workflow is available for any questions.
Yeah, Vinod. So let me quickly read out the questions. So there's a question from Meenal Karkera. Can Jira be used for construction projects?
Can Jira?
So yeah,
Absolutely. I think
again,
this
it
is-
depends, Meenal. Again, it depends on the usage. How do you want to use for constructions, and how do you want to have your sprint sizes? Sorry, Vinod.
Sure. I think let me maybe take an example, and maybe Meenal, you can add on if you got further questions on it. So if I just want to relate to a typical development kind of a project, right? For any construction, you first need to basically maybe acquire a piece of land or something like that, approvals and those kind of stuff. But after that, you need to have a clear planning as well, right? So you can create a flow on what is basically different steps which are required required from a construction side of it, so that each activity or story is basically map appropriately to that particular component or particular status. And only after that is approved, basically it gets into a next stage. So that can easily be controlled using Jira. But yeah, it is very much feasible. More around how do you structure that is going to be important.
Yep. The next question is from Prateek. Custom Scrum boards can differ in sprints or not?
Scrum board, you can differ anytime. If you're the Scrum Master, you should have access to basically change the board settings at any point of time. So it's under you now. But the challenge will be if you keep changing the board. So for example, let's say today I have these different statuses which are shown, and then that's the same thing which I'm using in my Scrum call with the larger team. Tomorrow, let's say I come in, I remove half of the statuses and just have maybe a few key ones, right? It kind of completely change the dynamics and not giving a full view to the user. So it's always best that team and everyone agrees to a plan and continue with it. But there is no restrictions. You can change it anytime.
The next question is, in a typical project sprint duration, sprint duration should be same or can differ from one to another?
You can change, and we have changed as well in the current scenario of projects. But you need to have concrete reasons in terms of why they change. So I'll take a couple of examples here. Let's say you started a project with 2 week sprint, right? But you're seeing 50-60% of the cases are spillover because people are not getting enough time to basically address them. And from your reports and utilization, you understand that if I add a week more, I'm going to get all these basically done within 3 sprint cycle, and it's going to give enough room. It could be due to dependencies or challenges, whatever the reasons could be. But you can arrive at a point, yeah, if I increase, then I'm going to have much more productivity. Then you can always increase from 2 to 3. There could also be a scenario where you go with 3-week sprint, but you're seeing the progress has been very slow and you're not getting the right traction or utilization. So you can always come back to 1 week or 2 week sprint and then take a call. So the typical, I would say the best mechanism is align on a sprint cycle to start with, whether it is 2 weeks, 1 week, or 3 weeks. Based on the outcome of the sprint, the end of the sprint, right, when you generate your reports and discuss about the outcome, you would clearly understand whether the sprint cycle is sufficient to achieve the need, or do we have to increase or decrease.
Yep. The next question is from Mrinal Lee. How to configure the combo box with multiple sprint listed on it?
Okay, you mean this one?
This one, probably.
This will come by default. You don't have to do anything.
I hope that answers the question, Mrinal Lee. Second, from Nanda Kumar, issue created by customer or team members or product owner? Who basically logs the issues is the question.
Okay. So ideally, it is the product owner's responsibility to basically create the backlog. So that's the sprint norm. But there are instances where you discuss all of them right offline in Excel kind of a format, and Scrum Master can also upload them into the Jira board. But responsibility in terms of defining the product backlog and giving the details of the requirements lies with the product owner.
Yeah, the next question is again from Nanda Kumar. Acceptance criteria should be created by whom? Should it be created by product owner or team member? Privileges can be created according to the roles in Jira.
Okay, so acceptance criteria has to be created with two people, right? In a typical project, one is the functional expert or a business analyst we call, and the product owner. So product owner just gives us the requirement in terms of I need to create a website, but he doesn't know what is required in that website. He might know at a very high level. So, but the functional expert or the functional SME basically provides those additional details in terms of if I meet 1, 2, 3, 4 things for an access control or for my creating a specific panel or a page or functionality in the website, what all is required. So he kinds of supports in and provides us inputs, which gets it completed. That's a typical combination that is required, but sometimes product owner might be more expert. He in functional area itself, he would do it, but this combination usually works.
Yeah, I just in the interest of time, I'll quickly just move through other questions. Component can be considered as sub-project. That's a question from Sandeep.
Sorry, come again.
Components can be considered as sub-projects. For example, 4 components, sub-projects is equal to 1 project. So can you break or can you perceive components as sub-projects and tag these components as sub-projects to one project?
Yeah, you can do that. So there are 2 ways. So you can either create release cycles and go with it, or you can create multiple components and then map those components into the user story. It doesn't matter.
And the last one before.
Only advantage you get creating a component is you will be able to map an SME to it. But if you create a release cycle, you cannot map an SME. That will be the only difference.
Yeah. Difference between components and WBS structure.
Those are 2 different things. WBS structure is more of your, in terms of work breakdown structure, right? If I understand correctly.
Correct.
So you usually in a story, right? So you can divide your basically task or subtask into basically different activities that needs to be performed in a specific activity. Now, if you want to relate your component to even work breakdown structure, it's going to be very challenging because you have to map the component to each task. So it becomes a little more complex. Instead, creating a separate task will become easier for you if you have to manage or maintain.
Which Jira version are we using, Vinod? Because there's a question from Sal. He doesn't see a few options in his own Jira version. So if you can just specify that.
To be frank, I'm not sure, sir.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We can get back to you, Sal, on this. This is something which is assigned to us by the company reps.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a last one before you move on. When user stories are taken by team, can't team mention the acceptance and get it reviewed by product owner? That's a question from Pratik.
We can do that, but usually different members have different perspectives, so aligning with that perspective becomes a challenge. So it's always coming top down, right? A typical approach works well, but if there is a lack of time from the product owner's perspective, you can always get inputs from anyone within the team, right? And then upload so that product owner is okay with it. It just have to follow. The structure is very important on what all parameters you need for a acceptance criteria that is clearly laid down and agreed. That will be more important.
Thanks, Vinod. Let's move forward.
Okay, so we were talking multiple times about workflows, right? So how does a workflow look like and where does it map to, right? So I've just taken a specific user story, and then you would see there are details around acceptance criteria. You would see different contents and who is it assigned to, right? So all those details are available. What status or in the workflow this particular ticket is in. If you need more details on what happened, right, with this particular story, you can always go to history, and it will tell you if there are multiple updates that happen by anyone, right? Not just mapped to these people. If there are owners for the Jira board, right? You can see at what time, what kind of change has been done, what kind of update has been done. You will have a complete traverse of history or audit for each story, what had happened. Second thing in a user story, which is very, very important is you should either put a story points to track with, right? Or if that is not a norm that you're following in the project, you should at least have your estimations in terms of what is the estimation for each of the story, and as in when the assignee or resource basically is working through it, they should keep updating the time remaining. These two are critical. There is a third option if you want to enter time as tempo traveler. So this tempo basically helps in more like your typical timesheet kind of a mechanism day to day, right? How many hours have you spent a particular story? You can do that as well. But if you have to get your metrics, key metrics like the burn down chart or velocity, right? Story points is very, very important. Now, how do you arrive at a story point? It's either you do t-shirt sizing, like simple, medium, complex, and then you put simple is 10 hours or 8 hours, and then medium and so on, number of hours, complex is on number of hours. Or you can agree on one story point equal to 4 hours, and then you can put how many hours for story points basically this user story is required from an effort standpoint. This is very important, right? And if you do not do this, there's no way you're going to get your metrics that you would need, like a burn down chart or a velocity or anything like that by end of the sprint. Second thing, in terms of workflow, how does it help and how does it allow you to control? So if I go here and then click view, as I was mentioning, right? So I have an option. If there are parallel tracks, I can go and select each of the parallel tracks. Otherwise, if it is a sequential one, then I have only after code review, I can do done. So I do not have an option to do anything else. So if I click workflow, what it means. Let me zoom a little bit. So it's okay. So as soon as a particular issue is created, right? So you it goes into open state by default. And what we have done as again, it's more of a tip or a best practice is you have to have controls in terms of who can manage these statuses from review, reject, planning, and until to do. So one example that I can give is if you give this control to product owner, because he is the all and soul in terms of managing the backlog, right? So as soon as a backlog item is created, but you have a flexibility, anyone can create a backlog, right? So whether it is a team member because he has identified something new, or there is multiple streams, the business needs a requirement and they created it. But it is only product owner who have an option to basically review and understand what this particular story is about. Does it have all the details that I need if I have to plan that activity? When I say plan, right, so I would basically understand how long or how much effort it would require. Does it have the critical components, some requirement details, acceptance criteria, and all those details? Am I able to do it? So this will be brought up in the planning discussion and discussed in length. Once it is finalized that all the details are available, goes into your to-do. That's where the product owner job kind of logically completes to have your product backlog available. From here, it's more on the Scrum team who would take over, and based on the Scrum calls or the planning calls, right? So the backlog is prioritized, and then you onboard activities or stories which into your work in progress kind of factor, right? And whichever which is still in the backlog will still be there in the to-do state. So it will be mapped to us, but that particular sprint cycle. So we know very clearly which user stories are onboarded, which are in work in progress, and which sprint do they belong to. Now, once it is in work in progress, you have a couple of options, right? There could be instances where you have created a story similar to that, and then again, for some reason it has come up, somebody has not reviewed it properly. It could be treated as a duplicate issue, and then you can move to duplicate. Or there is a lot of information that is required. For some reasons, the priorities have changed. You can move to hold, right? So you cannot go back. This is one-way operation when you move forward, right? So if you see the all arrows point to one direction, so you cannot go back one from to do. When you come to work in progress, you can always go to on hold or possible duplicate or move forward with those activities. Why do we need this, right? Why can't we just delete? Could be an answer, question, right? Unfortunately, there is no delete option that is provided in Jira. So whatever you create stays. but you have an option to basically logically delete. It's still there with the reject status, or you can onboard and then move into appropriate status. So this is something we'll have to understand. A lot of times what happens, we open the doors for everyone to basically create the stories, and each of them will come up with their opinion, and it will end up with a lot of rejects or duplicate issues. So that's the reason either you define all your stories in Excel and import them, or have the product owner basically create those user stories and ensure there is no duplicates, and then move into the appropriate stage. So those are two things that we'll have to keep in mind and then understand about this. So I think those were the key aspects in terms of board search options from basic, right, selection panel, board settings, and viewing, customizing the board in whichever criteria or priority order that you want, right, that you can look at. When you come to reports, so let me go back. Reports. Let me come to reports. So as I was mentioning, so there are multiple options of reports here that you can use, and it is very simple, like a click or a two-click kind of option. So this is a sample stories and activities, so you may not get an accurate measure on what it means, but I will show you an example, right, which will give you a perspective about how the report looks like. But it is very easy, and it clearly details out what each of these report means. So I'll not go into details of explaining what they are. And also you have the categorization in terms of what belongs to an agile kind of a method. If you're going with an incident management or bugs kind of a tracking, what kind of reports you have, because you would want to understand a ticket comes in, how long it's kind of been there in work in progress, or before it is kind of accepted into being worked upon. So this will be very critical to understand if we need to onboard more resources, or there is a challenge with the resource, or kind of activities you can be able to kind of derive out of it. Similarly, there are other reports, but if I just click on to make everyone aware how simple it is. So you just do one click, and then it will give you a window which talks about by default generates a report for you. Now, what this report, right, if you have to read, so if you see issue count and you see time, so time is basically in months. You can customize it, but by default, this is the way that it comes up. Now, how can I change my access, right? And how can I change my sprint? Because obviously the report we would want to generate at the end of each sprint. So I can select whichever sprint I'm in, and I can select by what do I want to basically look at. Now this report, one down, has come from an issue count perspective. You can also do by story points if story points are clearly mapped. You can also do by original estimates or various other factors that are mapped. These are all columns which are available in your issue. So you can, if they are updated appropriately, you can always generate reports using any of these criteria, and you would know for that particular sprint cycle how long it has taken. So this, I would say, maybe a worst case scenario if you take it. So the sprint started somewhere right in July, right, and you would see about 49 issues have been basically onboarded, and you would see most of the issues are basically closed during the first few weeks of the sprints. But you would also see that by 3 weeks, right, you would see most of the issues getting closed. But there could also be scenario where you have not closed some of them. This could be something which is there in code review, right? Or it is completed at a later point of time because of whatever reasons, the resource not available or review has not happened on time. So these instances should be avoided where you get an accurate metrics and everything is done right by this time and you generate a metric. So this is how simple a report kind of be built or generated using the Jira board. So let me stop there, and there is also another option if you want to do this analysis on your own. So what you can do is basically you can go into issues as a section where all issues or your specific issues open to you, or which are reported by you, or open or with different statuses that you can view. When you select, you can view them. If you want to export and do your analysis, right? You can do that. You can also add filters as the example I was mentioning, right? So if I just select by, let's say, priority, for example, and I get, let's say, medium priority, I have the selection. Now you see the dashboard got refreshed automatically. Now, how do I know, right, what I've selected? Can I maybe customize it further? I can do a JSQL here, and I clearly know in a simple basic SQL language, right, kind of a, so you would see the project is a specific project that is selected, and the priority I've selected medium, and it is all created or sorted out as descending. You can change this if you don't want as AC. And if you also notice, right, as you type in, you will see the keywords coming through, and you can select and say save filter. You can save. So this is another option. So you can save so that next time whenever you want to use this filter, you can use it and then arrive at the report that you would want to look at. Also, if you want to export this, there are multiple options that you have to basically export. So you can click on export and then export in any of these various formats. So typically we do CSV. You can do all fields, or you can create a filter and then select only specific columns that you would need for your analysis, right? So whatever, let's, for example, these are the different columns that I'm showing. I can create a filter and then export issues only with these specific columns. Otherwise, you would have about 300 plus columns which will come up from this export issue. So that is another way. If you want to do any analysis using Excel and do not want to use any of these reports because something may not be defined the way that you would like to, you can always do that and then generate your own reports. So I think let me stop here and see if there are any reports, any questions. But I think that's pretty much what I would want to basically cover in today's session.
Yeah, so there's one question. There are two questions from Nandakumar. First one is, do we have any option to create definition of done in Jira?
No, there is no option.
And the second question is, if the sprint time over, then remaining story points move to next sprint, or the same sprint continues?
For spillovers?
Yes, for spillovers.
Okay, that's a great question, and that's a very difficult way to basically manage. So for example, let's say I've onboarded 10 story points, right? And I've mapped all the 10 story points in the current sprint. And end of the sprint, right, as I was mentioning, whenever I do a burn down chart, I know if I'm completing all 10 or I've done only 8 and there are 2 which has not been worked upon, it's a spillover. So you know those 2 which are spillovers, and once you generate the report, basically in the next planning session, right, usually it's the first day of the sprint or the last day of your previous sprint, you would basically kind of also show these 2 as your backlog item and then reprioritize in your next planning call and then map them back. But if you lose tracking your spillovers, then it's going to be very difficult to trace back and say, unless you do it manually, right? Right. So which are spillover from over a period of my 6 or 10 sprints.
Okay. No more questions. Over to you, Rupali.
And seeing the level of interest of participation and the number of questions asked, I can say we all had a good learning. Yeah, and thank you, Vinod. Thank you so much for sharing the insight with us. It was a great session, and I believe everyone is benefited. And Girish, can you share the certificate with us? Yes. So Vinod, it's just a token for appreciation for the insight that you have shared with us. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you. Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to present today.
Yes, over to you, Sunil, for feedback form. We'll start with the feedback form. Okay, Subil, can we share the feedback form, please? Sushil, can we share the? Yeah.
It is shared in the chat, Rupali.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you. So I also please fill this feedback form, and I also would like to thank everyone for making this session so interactive and good learning for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
So can we close the session now?
Yeah, so can you get the PDU code, Rupali?
Okay, okay. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for.
Yeah.
Bye.